Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Legal Paige podcast. I thought it was time to jump on here and do a candid COVID conversation is what I'm calling this. I don't have a lot of notes. My head has been in a work it on overdrive this week. Things have changed rapidly in the past 14 days here in the United States. My business has obviously been impacted just because we are a legal resource and education platform for event industry professionals. And so events and weddings in particular are getting canceled and rescheduled and all kinds of things. So I have just been trying to offer my expertise and knowledge to people. But just, personally as well, it's weird. This is a weird time. I've been struggling to kind of gather my own thoughts. And so, that's what this is. It's a candid conversation about what's going on, kind of how I'm feeling, what's happened in the trajectory of the past, 2 weeks, how things have changed. The past 3 episodes of the Legal Paige podcast have really been about COVID-19, and the past 2 have focused on, when I issued the best practices episode, a lot of things weren't shut down. People weren't in quarantine or, stay-at-home orders weren't in place. It was kind of the what if, situation that we were facing when I recorded that episode. And then last week when I talked with Caroline, more orders had been in place, but we recorded that episode before last Sunday hit, when the CDC and the White House kind of issued their recommendations and guidance towards the country. And then the states are kind of starting to slowly implement mandates and orders to their constituents. And it's just crazy. It's unfolding so quickly, but it's changing so fast as well. People are having a hard time keeping up. And then you have to go watch the news because you have to know what's happening. And then the news kind of brings you down this rabbit hole cycle of what's going on in the world. Anyway, I've gathered some of my thoughts, and I'm going to talk about personal thoughts and where we're at right now. And then halfway through the episode, I will really talk about legal grounds right now. Where are we at with our contracts? If you're an event industry professional or small business owner, how can we work with clients the best way possible? How can we kind of risk assess our businesses right now and figure out what the next best steps are moving forward? So without further ado, let's just get into this. You guys grab a cup of coffee. I could tell my friends lay flat right now, put on some, AirPods, just try to reset, try to gather your thoughts as well. I am your friend here. I just want to have a conversation with somebody about this and share my thoughts. And what better way to do it than on my own podcast? So here we go.
You're listening to the Legal Paige podcast, where we chat about life and business with a legal twist. I'm Paige, attorney and photographer helping online businesses and creatives tackle their business dreams without breaking out in hives. No more legal mumbo jumbo. This podcast features simple, bite-sized advice that'll have you legally legit in no time. Are you ready? Let's get started. As a reminder, before we get into this episode, I am legally obligated to give my disclaimer. So I am an attorney, but I am not your attorney. All legal information I talk about on this episode is intended for the masses and a large variety of different businesses. I am only your attorney when you hire me and we sign an engagement letter for me to work specifically on your legal issues. Please feel free to seek out another attorney in your hometown if you need specific legal advice or contact me for more information. Alrighty, here's the episode, friends.
Alrighty, guys. So let's just look back at the past week, 7 days. What was my state of mind last week? So I'm recording this on Friday, March 20th, 2020. And last Friday, I was scared. I was scared than most people out there. The news was still in flux. Nobody really knew what was happening, how COVID-19 was going to impact our country. Last Friday, I went to Costco because many of us were what do we do? What do we do? We go to Costco, right? And Marco didn't come with me, but I just went by myself. I was I need to just get up and everyone else is going to the grocery store, so I feel like I need to go. It was like innate, right? I wasn't really thinking. And so I went, I grabbed my cart, and it was just like a weird moment. I didn't go for like toilet paper or Clorox wipes, or I didn't go for anything. Luckily and fortunately, like Marco and I are two people in this household, and Marco does a really good job of going to the stores and like ensuring that we are prepared and we have like everything we need. So the previous week he had gone and like gotten toilet paper, and we always have some wipes on hand. Anyway, I digress there. But what I'm saying is like, I was just like walking around with my cart trying to figure out what to do. I was like, I guess I'll like grab some chicken. I'll grab some extra bottles of wine. But then it started setting in. I was really confused about why all of the items were sold out. Obviously, Clorox is sold out, toilet paper sold out, water was sold out, there was like a couple cartons left. Eggs, usually it's like stacked up, to the brim, and there was like only one organic egg section left. And then just like, all the canned food, it was just in like disarray. And I was walking around, I didn't even know what to buy. I remember coming home and being like, Marco, I don't even know what I put in my cart. I don't know. I grabbed some things that I thought maybe we could use in the next month. But it really set in there where I was like, okay, I've been behind my desk all week. You guys, this is last week. This is like 10, 14 days ago to 7 days ago. And nobody really knew where we were at or what was going to happen or, what was coming, really. I worked with HoneyBook last week as well, and I just want to give a huge shout out here to HoneyBook and the people behind HoneyBook and Rising Tide, Natalie and her entire team. They foreshadowed all of this, and they were kind of the first company on the front lines to put out information related to COVID-19 and how it was really going to start impacting small business owners and, their community as a whole in the event industry. And I jumped on board immediately. You guys know we kind of put together a protection clause bundle last week because I was like, well, I think right now people they need to know what clauses they need to have in their contract to protect themselves for things like this. And much to my surprise, there's a lot more that people needed in the past, 14 days. But HoneyBook was really, I want to give a shout out because they were the front runners towards all of this, and they killed it. They put out this webinar with myself, Dominique, and Ashlyn, a legal guru, a finance guru, and a communications guru. And I felt like that webinar was like the catalyst to every next step for event industry professionals, for anyone who tuned in. Obviously, what I talked about in particular on the webinar was like the state of the world last Wednesday, like Wednesday, March 11th. Okay. And like in 7, 8, 9 days, it is so much different now. And what I talked about, of course, still applies, but it's just we're in a different world. Like I was talking about locations and like it's so location based and like you have to do all these, you have to really stay on top with your location. But now I'm like, well, kind of across the board, we're all in quarantine. So anyway, that's how things have changed. Okay. That's where I was, and mindset wise. Okay. This is the deal. Like personally, I'm scared. I was scared. I was kind of one of the first people I was taking it super seriously. I have a really, really good friend over in Italy. She's my best friend from college. We have been talking nonstop for the past 2 to 3 weeks because it was getting so bad. And Marco and I went and visited them last September. And it's just weird when you're like kind of connected like that. We had been in all these places and I was watching the news, and I've been talking to my friend, and she married an Italian. So now they live there. And I just kept being like, what's happening? Are you okay? I was like, already worried. I am someone who watches the news a lot. It's okay. Like we're not getting into a political discussion here on what news channel you watch. I mean, across the board, I think people at the beginning of this, everyone was like, oh, this is a political move and it's an election year and yada, yada. Okay. Whatever every news station was saying. But I was like, I I think it's going to come to the US and it's going to hit pretty hard and nobody's ready. And that's kind of what happened. I'm not a medical professional. I disclaim I'm not giving medical advice on here. 14 days ago, no one was really worried about having all kinds of bans in place for over 10 people. I foresaw something like this coming, but I just didn't know how governments were going to handle it. Anyway, business-wise, it's just also been an interesting week. Okay, we've been working side by side. I have been working side by side with small businesses all week long, as well as the whole TLP team. I know many educators out there and Facebook groups in different communities are coming together. Everyone is like, hashtag, we're all in this together, because reality, we are. You all know this, but I also particularly work in the event industry niche, which has basically shattered across the board right now. And it's devastating. I just can't believe what's happening and how people are reacting and what's going on. And every situation is different, but obviously events and weddings can't be held right now. That's just the reality of the situation. So people are losing, businesses are losing thousands by the day. Clients are losing thousands by the day. All of us are forced to make these massive shifts in our business structure. People are having to negotiate with clients. People are having to figure out what's happening with reschedulings and open up their calendars. Every event industry professional is on tap this week, and many people are staying super, super strong, but it's okay if you're listening out there and you're not okay. This is a time that it's okay to not be okay. Really, you can be like that any time of your life. But now more than ever, just entrepreneurs are figuring out what to do, how to keep their businesses going in the midst of all of this. No one really knows how long it's going to last. You guys, China just finally had yesterday their first day without a new confirmed case, and it's been going on for 4 months there. So from my perspective, we've definitely got a few more months under our belt, and people are really that's starting to set in for everybody, because obviously stay-at-home orders and quarantines and mandates are being put into place for 30 days right now in a lot of places. And most medical professionals across the board and across the country are saying that it's still on the uptick of the curve. We're all saying lessen the curve, reduce the curve. But cases right now are growing. We're kind of on that exponential uptick of the curve, and we're going to continually see more, which is scary. It's what? Everyone is thinking that right now. What just happened? Who knows where the state of our economy will be in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. The federal government isn't giving clear guidance to everyone in the entire country right now. They're not saying everybody needs to do X, and they issue a mandate in order from that effect, which I personally just think that's not the right way to go about this. That's my personal feelings. But what it's ultimately doing is it's leaving states and counties to do everything themselves. And they don't have a lot of the resources that the federal government has. No one saw this coming. No one was prepared, especially the healthcare industry with necessary equipment and ventilators and their, staff and just precautionary safety equipment as well. Just nobody was prepared. And states I was listening something and, yesterday, and it was all these state governors were saying we need a collective process moving forward. The federal government really needs to take charge here. And all of us states are left working together to try to implement similar measures. And then, the trickle down effect to local counties. And you guys, my heart is pounding every minute. I'm fearful. You guys, I'm also hopeful. Please know that. I know that we're all going to bounce back. And it's going to be okay. But the fear is okay to feel as well. The health of people are at stake. The health of our economy is at stake. The health of our event industry is at stake. The health of our, everything. Service professionals are completely out of work, the whole business economy, service, servers, bartenders, caterers. And then the health of basically every other business and corporation, because they're laying people off right now. Some people are able to work at home, and some people's businesses can support remote work, but some can't. Like, will there be jobs when we all come out of quarantine? Nobody knows what the health of the stock market is looking like. It's just crazy, right? Because we had a booming economy before all of this. And I am also an econ major, if you can believe it. So I'm just thinking back to all of these classes and, where the state of the economy was a month ago in the United States. It was great. Like, everyone was doing well. Finances were good. Stock market was good. Real estate market was good. Like, people are booking, small businesses are flourishing. But this here is unprecedented, like, obviously unforeseeable. Nobody knew this was coming. I think pandemic and epidemic experts, epidemiologists would say something different. I'm not one. It's one of those time periods that will be on the history books 50 years from now. It's going to last for more than just a hot minute, right? It's going to last for a while. And 50 years, we're going to look back and think about, okay, what were we like during this period of time? I'm like 50 years from now, hopefully I have grandkids, and what are they going to ask me? Okay. Like, what was it like, Paige, in 2020 and spring of 2020? Like, what did you do? What did you, and Grandpa do? Marco, I'm letting you know we're going to be married for the next 50 years. This is one of those time periods that we need to understand that there's a lot of things we can't control right now with what's happening with the virus, but there's a lot of things we can control. And the one things we can control is our actions, okay? I am pleading for everyone, just please stay home, abide by CDC federal government guidelines, even, as much as you can, even if there isn't a mandated stay-at-home order in place in your county or state. You can do your due diligence now to help reduce the curve. And we have to kind of take note from China, from other, Asian countries, from, what's happening in Italy, what's happening in the UK. We all need to take note and work our darndest so that our healthcare industry does not get overloaded. And then we're in a worse position than we are now. So that's my personal take on all of this. I know that wasn't as beautifully delivered as I wish it could have been, but I have a lot going on in my head right now too, personally. And I also want to say, because I've been so busy with the legal page the past 14 days, I also haven't had a lot of time to gather my thoughts and really think about how I felt. As I was talking about that Costco situation, I couldn't even process it. I came back and just started working again. And we've been putting out as much valuable, legal information as possible. If you go to thelegalpage.com, on the homepage, we have a canvas with all of the free resources that you could need. And my team and I are putting out things left and right on the daily. I am constantly in as many Facebook groups as I can. I'm not getting paid. I am just okay, let me offer my expertise because, as you know, I have a law degree and this is basically my entire wheelhouse. And I know it's not fun to talk about contracts and legal stuff, but it's pretty darn imperative for people to think about this right now. And many people have no choice but to talk and think about this right now because their businesses are on the line. Clients are canceling or rescheduling, and everyone is going back to what their contracts say. They're having to read their contracts now. Everyone's really starting to understand the importance of contracts and why they are there in times like this. So because of my expertise and education, I'm I have to be here. I went to law school to help people and serve people. And now is my time to be there for everyone to the best of my ability. But I am only one person. We have a small team of about 3 women that are consistently working for the business. We have a lot of other contractors and people that we hire out that have been, oh my gosh, to all of you that have been there this week. Thank you. It changes. Every morning I wake up and I'm what's next? What do we do? How do we help? What more can we put out there? So let's just get into kind of where we're at legally and how obviously things have changed from the past 2 episodes that I recorded prior to this one. So we're dealing with this unforeseeable situation, right? And people's contracts and policies are in flux, right? They're being tested. People's contracts are imperative for what's going to happen with you and your clients and this decision processes that are going to be made moving forward. So what's the first thing that you should do right now? I get asked that question a lot. So the first thing, of course, is you need to read your contract. You need to figure out if your force majeure clause is triggered. You guys, force majeure means of superior strength. It's like if something happens that's unforeseeable, unpredictable, and then it's impossible to perform your services, then a force majeure clause is usually triggered. And I go in that in the previous episode, so we don't need to go about that in depth. But across the board, it's likely, right? It's impossible pretty much in the entire United States right now to host events over 10 to 50 people and perform your services. So that means that you can't perform. That's the one miscommunication, misinformation, misnomer that people aren't fully understanding is force majeure just basically says, okay, if all of these things happen and you can't perform, i.e. you can't get there, i.e. you can't host the event, you can't photograph the event because it's not happening, then you can't be sued for breach of contract because you can't perform. Now, across the board, generally speaking, most force majeure clauses don't have anything regarding the fees that have been paid and, what's your refundability policy in situations like this. And nobody really has that in their contract. If you do, I guess good for you because it's a little bit clearer under your contract. Everyone's contracts are different. You guys know I've been talking about this nonstop all week. You have to read your contract. I'm getting a little bit sick of people just spewing information out there in groups being like, this is the way that you have to do it. Like you have to refund everything. And I'm like, you don't know what their contract says. You don't know what their client situation is. You don't know where they live, what location they're in. You don't know where the event is being held, what travel is involved. You can't just issue a blanket statement like that. So read your contract, read the force majeure clause, and then read your cancellation and rescheduling policies. And the retainer reservation fee, does it state non-refundable and non-transferable? So like that's where we're at with contracts. That's where you need to start. Okay, step one. And then people have been asking questions kind of on repeat this week about if things are canceled by the client, the venue, or the government, what happens? But then what happens if the events are still going to go on as planned and they haven't been canceled by the client, the venue, or the government, but you as the service provider are like, what do I do? Like, do I cancel? Do I not go? I'm worried about my health. And lots of people aren't feeling safe about going to an event. So what should you do in those circumstances? So let's start with the first one. If there's like an actual county or state mandate in place that says no one can host events for, say, over 10 people, that's kind of the standard across the board right now after CDC guidelines were issued, then of course you do not have to perform your services because that would essentially be like the client's asking you to do something in violation of a government order. And I do know that when those go into place, there are like fees involved, like you can get fined for violating such orders. So you absolutely do not have to do something like that. That's where force majeure would come in. But the one thing I will state is that you still have to try to like mitigate circumstances and cure your performance under force majeure. And that's where I'm seeing a lot of different options. If you can't physically go and the event is still on, which I think after I record this, it's going to be like next week, there's nothing. Hopefully there's some federal mandate issued so that no one has to have this question with themselves and their clients and their business. Like, I just wish there was a blanket order that said no one can have an event over 10 people. You're going to get fined X if you do. Every event needs to get shut down. No one can host it. And then it's like, okay, we can't do it. So now what are the next steps? But it's like we're having, as event industry professionals, we're having to have this conversation with ourselves. With like, do I put my health and safety at risk? Is it possible to like not have a second shooter so I don't implicate like potential health risks on other people that I've hired? Can I stand 6 feet away from my clients? Can I perform but still initiate necessary safety measures? Like, that's not a fun conversation to be had. And I'm not extremely happy with our government for having businesses do that themselves. So if you aren't able to perform and you can't, and there's a government order in place, then you need to wait for like the clients and the venue to make that decision for you. That's kind of best practice right now. When you are a service provider canceling on them, that's why I'm trying to tell people, like, if you kind of delay, if you kind of wait, if you kind of keep seeing like your communication is, I'm there for you, I'm here for you, I'm still on, I can still perform, like, chances are in the next few days, you won't be able to, and you don't have to make that decision for yourself or for them. They will have the decision made for them. The event owners and the clients is what I'm talking about. So you do, though, under force majeure circumstances, like, and this is where fees get involved, you have to try to cure your performance if you are going to keep fees paid. You can't just keep payments because your contract says you can. Like, this isn't just a basic canceling or rescheduling situation where it's your client's decision to do it. Like, both parties can't perform under the contract. Your clients can't hold the event and you can't perform your services. Like, that's just the state of the world right now. So what do you do with, a partial or a full refund of amounts paid? That's what everybody's asking. What do you do with your reservation fee or your retainer? You're not going to love my answer because it does depend. Every attorney will say it depends, and it would be legal malpractice if they didn't say that because everybody's contract says something different. But I will just state that right now you have to work your hardest to communicate with your clients on not getting to the point of canceling and terminating the contract and then having to deal with a partial or full refund of amounts paid. So I have written a hopefully helpful blog post. It's been viewed quite a bit. It's the step-by-step guide to initiating postponements and cancellations. And I just wanted to walk through this guide with you so that you can really be settled and be grounded in what you're going to do moving forward with each and every one of your clients. And like I said, it's different, it's client specific, but just be really, really good industry professionals right now. So step one, communicate with them. I am not a communications expert. There are tons out there. You can go, I know Ashlyn Carter is putting out a bunch of information right now on communicating with your clients. And so you really just want to start the conversation off by saying, where are you at? Is your event still getting held? How can I help you? How can I assist you during this time? And be like, I am more than happy, to reschedule the event with you. The main thing you want to do, as if you're in the event industry right now, is there's this campaign going around with Honeybook. I'm totally on board. It's reschedule, don't cancel. And you can't control what your clients are going to do, but you can offer suggestions and help and guide them to postponing and rescheduling versus canceling. So just don't talk about canceling if you can avoid it at all. Communicate with your clients and try to come to a mutual resolution regarding what you're going to do with the services you need to perform and the amounts they have paid. Most people are being reasonable right now. I understand some clients have very sticky situations and they just need to cancel. Some people are overwhelmed with emotions and they don't know what else to do. They're paralyzed. They're like, terminate all these contracts. But if we can be there to really help them and assist them on moving forward with next best steps on rescheduling, that's where you want to go. And then, of course, as an attorney, risk assessment wise, it's way better to find a mutual resolution and come to that with your clients versus having the state of your contract and fees paid and your services not performed at stake, in flux. That looks like a potential lawsuit to me, but you can avoid all of that and a sticky legal situation in the future if you and your clients can come to a mutual resolution right now. So with that being said, let's talk about the two situations you will be in with rescheduling. The first is you and the documents you need to use. This is the big thing that I've been talking about this week is everyone's realizing, okay, maybe my contracts aren't so great right now. They're a little confusing. Nobody really knows what to do. I don't really even know how to interpret my contract. I probably need to update my existing contract because I don't have a lot of these protection clauses in there, what have you. Okay. A lot of people are looking at their contracts right now and are like, I probably need to do something with these. But you can't do anything with your existing contracts with signed clients. Okay. You have to use the letter of the contract that you have right now with them. So everyone has asked me, like, what do I say in a contract addendum? And as I really started thinking about this, and from my expert opinion, and also, I'm in the contract world. I've worked for a judge. I've worked for insurance defense firms. This is like my niche. This is what I do. I'm not a litigator. Like, I do this. I do risk assessment on contracts. And now I really came up with like all these steps, and you can go to the guide. It's at thelegalpage.com. It's on the homepage and there's a link to it. So it's pretty easy to find. But I wanted to walk you guys through like when you should use a contract addendum, because I don't think they're the best option right now, and when you should use a rescheduling contract. So let's go through those because it's important for you and what you're doing to avoid risk and liability as a business owner. Okay, so you can use a contract addendum if all of these things occur. First, your clients determine that they want to reschedule. That's where everybody should try to get to. Your clients agree that all fees paid for your services under the existing contract will be transferred to a new date. And you've agreed upon that date. So the clients have officially decided on a new event date. They've booked it with their existing venue or a new venue. That date is, they're wanting to hold that date with you now. And you guys, I've seen tons of really great ideas out there on what you can do and like legally speaking, like you can do whatever you want. If you want to open up Fridays and Sundays, for the next 12, 18 months and say, I'm not going to upcharge you. I'm not going to charge a rescheduling fee. Like, choose any Friday and Sunday so that you can keep like those Saturday dates open. You can some people, I think best practice here is like send out what dates you have booked and they can book any other date. So all vendors, you guys, clients are working with like 10, 15 vendors. So if they've decided on a new date, and then the big thing here is if you are confident with your existing contract and all the clauses in it, and you're comfortable moving forward with only changing the dates that you will be offering services and they will be hosting their event, and you're willing to like offer kind of the same services for the same price on this new date, then a contract addendum is appropriate. Because it's simple, it's just a one-page document. And no matter what your next best steps are, the one thing I can just say wholeheartedly that is going to be the best legal thing to do moving forward is documentation and signing on to your mutual resolution. So the contract addendum really just says the contract that we have stands strong, it stands still, and we are just moving everything under that contract to a new date, and all the fees you've paid to a new date. That's what a contract addendum does. And then all parties sign, both clients and yourself. You sign the contract addendum. But in most circumstances, that is probably not what you should do to avoid risks and liabilities on your business, because a rescheduling contract will allow you to sign a new contract with your clients. And it's good for clients too. People have asked me like, well, won't I get pushback from clients? And I'm like, no, because you can, like, your clients, a rescheduling contract happens when these things occur. Your clients want to reschedule. They agree that like you can really go above and beyond as a service provider and say, all fees that you've paid thus far are going to be transferred over to my full services in the next 12, 18, 24 months. You're not going to be upcharged. Like, maybe I'll add in an extra hour of coverage. Like, this is where you really get creative and go above and beyond as a service provider. And then oftentimes what's happening right now is like venues don't have a lot of dates open. Clients are kind of looking at plan B, and lots of clients haven't decided on a new event date because they are paralyzed and they're terrified and they don't know what to do. And they have family members and friends that are helping them make decisions, and they're overwhelmed, like so overwhelmed. But they want solace and like They want a decision being made about what's happening with the money they've paid you. And if you want to update and adjust your existing contract, a rescheduling contract is amazing for this. This is why I'm like, generally speaking, like I keep saying, rescheduling contracts are bomb diggity right now because it allows you to, say that you don't have to perform your services. You're kind of released from your performance obligations under the existing contract. You terminate and void the existing contract, but you keep the fees that they've paid thus far and you put them on credit on their client account for a certain period of time. And then they need to just notify you, say within 6 months or 12 months of when they are going to use that credit. And then you all come to a mutual resolution at some point in the future about how they're going to use the fees they've paid. Oftentimes you can split it up. Like it doesn't just have to be one event. You could offer 2 hours of coverage here if they want to like elope, right? Because many clients they've been engaged for a really long time. They do want to get married. But now, the fact of the matter is they're probably going to have to wait to hold a big reception. And many people want that reception. And you guys, am also a bride-to-be. This is something that I think I should have probably said this at the beginning of the episode, but I feel for kind of everyone under these circumstances. It's weird. It's a weird place to be right now because as a lawyer, I'm thinking about legal implications. As an event industry professional, I'm also a photographer and having to deal with cancellation and reschedulings with my clients over the next 2 months. And then I'm also a bride-to-be. Like Margot and I are having our wedding in November. And if it was in April, we'd be going through all of those emotions that these clients are going through right now. So it's just strange for me right now. Like I'm feeling all of it. And I have so much empathy towards these clients because we rescheduled our wedding twice last year. And it was, I don't even know how I got through it because it was so devastating. And that was on our own accord and our own decision to cancel and then reschedule. But our vendors were so amazing with us and they worked with us. And I kind of knew, and obviously it's different because we decided to cancel. I kind of knew I wasn't going to get any, retainers back or deposits back, but they were wonderful and gracious with transferring and rescheduling and allowing these to stay on credit for a certain period of time. And right now, that is what I want you to do for your clients. Assure them that you at all costs, you're going to try to cure performance. You're going to try to perform your services at some date in the future. Nobody expected this. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody can control where we're at right now with hosting events. But what you can do is you can sign a rescheduling contract that puts your clients' minds at ease that you're not just taking their money and running. And that's kind of a weird, simple statement, but it's true. They want to know that you're keeping their fees paid on credit, that they can use it in the future, and that you're willing to work with them and use your due diligence to find a date that mutually you all agree to on your calendar. And I could go in, down rabbit holes where clients are not being awesome with working with you and clients are like, this is my new date and now you're not available. So now you need to refund me. That's a different situation. And like I said, it's client specific, it's fact specific, it's circumstance specific. But those are the two options with rescheduling. Okay. You, as a service provider, you have this contract in place. So what do you do with this existing contract? You're in email communication with your clients. But then once you come to a mutual resolution, whatever that is, then what legal document do you sign next? And you have to do that. You have to sign on to something with yourself and your clients so that legal stuff doesn't come up in the future and you can avoid lawsuits. Contract addendum is appropriate under some circumstances. You guys know many people who have used the contract addendum that I put out because they need it. They're fine. They're okay with their existing contract and they've come to a mutual resolution that they can outline in the contract addendum and their clients can sign on to. But for most people, I think a rescheduling contract is best right now, mostly because people might not have their dates yet. It gives your clients ease of mind and grace period to really make a decision. They don't have to make it right now and you need to have your date signed. And there's so many clever things you can do as an event industry professional by saying, if you do get it, if you do book the date on my calendar as soon as possible, because now we're all going to get super booked for like end of 2020, 2021, incentivize them to like book as much as possible, but don't, allow them some grace as well, which is why a rescheduling contract is great, like I said, but it also just tells them like how long they have to keep their fees on credit so they don't forfeit everything. And then it also allows you to update your existing contract. And you guys know I believe in two-sided contracts. So your clients deserve rights and obligations under the contract as well. Of course, it is going to be more sided towards you as the service provider because it's your contract, right? And you're trying to protect your business and your clients are hiring you for the services that your business offers. Okay, I get that. But you still need your clients to have rights and obligations. And probably they're looking at the contract and being like, what did I even sign on to? And if you can clarify that and modify and issue a new contract in the future that's updated and a lot more clear, that's a great way to go about it, which is why a rescheduling contract is great. It terminates, voids that existing contract, keeps money on credit, tells your clients how long they have to use that credit, and then you sign a new contract once everybody's decided on what to do. So those are reschedulings and postponements. But what happens if your clients just want to cancel? And obviously this is like worst case scenario, last resort. Try your hardest not to get there. But the reality is like, oh, okay. Some clients are just like, I'm done. I can't do it. I don't want to reschedule. I don't want to do this. I just want to cancel everything. What are the repercussions of that? Okay. That's what they're asking you. And they know that probably every vendor is going to say something different. And just, this is where you need to be a business owner. And this is where you need to step up and assess the risks of every situation and how litigious your clients are and what could happen in the future. And, is your reputation on the line, word of mouth going around? If your clients determine that they do not want to reschedule and just cancel your services in the contract altogether, what do? You sign a cancellation contract and you come to a mutual resolution on what you're going to do with fees paid. The statement that's going around is like, you have to refund the retainer. You have to refund literally everything. That's not true. If there's a lot of different legal doctrines out there about, ensuring that you get paid for the services you have performed. And so if you can document that you've performed certain services, wedding planners as a whole right now are like, we've done about 90% of the work we need to do. We just haven't put the event together. But we've planned everything. Like under those circumstances, you should be able, if you can document all of the work you've done, you should be able to, legally speaking, keep the fees for the services you've rendered thus far. But with retainers and deposits for like photographers in particular, it's different, right? Like what services have you performed? And can you document those? And again, this is just like assessing risks. You can keep your retainer if you want to. And if your contract is like non-refundable, non-transferable retainer, non-transferable, non-refundable fee, reservation fee. If you're like lock and key with your contract and you're okay with potentially them coming back and trying to get their money back with a lawsuit, good on you. Like that's where you can be as a business owner. Like you can do what you want here. But every attorney is going to, if you get on the phone with an attorney, they're going to assess risks and they're going to let you know like, okay, if the retainer is like $1,500 and your clients are super litigious, like they're maybe, they're stating that they might sue you in the future, that you've got something coming. They're gonna, I don't know. I've seen nightmare situations out there right now. And as a photographer too, you guys, like I'm just not some attorney that's like talking, that you're calling, that has no idea how to run a business on Instagram, has no idea what it's like to be a photographer. These attorneys they're just being like super non-emotional, assessing your contracts. And I'm like assessing your contracts, but also trying to give you good business suggestions and business advice. If you have a $1,500 retainer and you're super worried about what your clients are going to do because they want to cancel, they want to be done, they're not being helpful, they're not working with you, that situation could happen. And I get it. Like, we're not going to go down that. I get it from a client standpoint as well, right? As a bride to be. But if they're not, they have to try and cure performance as well. Like at the end of the day, if you go into court, a court's going to be like, okay, both parties couldn't perform. Force majeure circumstance happened. Both parties couldn't perform. They couldn't host the event and you couldn't perform your services because the event didn't happen. So what services have you performed thus far? And what did the parties do? Did the parties act reasonably? Did the clients even try to work with you? Can you document that you did everything possible to give them credit on their account and all of these things? That's why I'm like, documentation is so important right now. And email documentation is good. It's just fine. And then you're going to get into legal doctrines like quantum meruit claims for, it's kind of like enriching someone for the services that they have performed. And like what's only fair is they get paid for the services they have performed. And all of these things are going to come into play and there's going to be all of these arguments. And that's what lawyers are looking at right now. Like, is it worth it at that point for you to keep the $1,500 retainer? Or is it better to like work out a resolution where maybe you're refunding half of the retainer because you can officially document that you perform services for, $750. And then you give back $750 and your clients are okay with that. They're happy with that. You're losing some, they're losing some. It's not a win-win situation for everyone, right? It's like a lose-lose situation for everyone. But at the end of the day, you can sign an agreement and cancel that contract and terminate services and agree to what that mutual resolution is. And then you avoid lawsuits in the future. That is where lawyers are on tap right now for those type of situations. And it's different. And I want you to be good business owners. And I want you to wear your CLO hats right now, your chief legal officer hats. What is the best option? And this is where people have been just flying around with advice on, online with, you have to refund the retainer. You have to do this. You don't have to do anything, right? You don't have to. You just might face legal stuff coming up later on. And right now I'm saying like, obviously we're all in financial situations, financial hardships. Our businesses are at stake. Lots of people don't have extra finances to make ends meet for the next few months. And business owners, like especially the event industry as a whole, is like I said at the beginning, they're losing thousands and thousands of dollars by the day. And so you have to be smart too as a business owner, like hold on to those retainers and reservations fees if you can. Like your business depends on that money. And nobody could have predicted this. And just because your clients are upset, like you have to be a good business owner and you have to ensure that you are communicating with them that like your business viability is on the line too. It doesn't mean that you just suddenly give back all of this money. Like you have to work hard to kind of be an attorney for yourself in these situations. Mostly you guys, of course, if it gets really bad, please go seek out an attorney's advice in your home state. But right now people are losing money, right? You don't have expendable income to spend $250 to $500 per hour on an attorney just to get their advice. Like, can you come to a resolution yourself to the best of your ability with your clients? So again, 3 options here for legal documents is sign a contract addendum. If all of those steps apply, and you guys will put them in show notes. Of course, they're in our step-by-step guide blog post as well. Sign a rescheduling contract. So if you're rescheduling and postponing the event, you're either going to sign a contract addendum or you're going to sign a rescheduling contract. It's as simple as that. Just go through the steps and figure out which one is best for each client situation. And then if you're going, you can't reschedule, like you're going to be 10 lines of, email strings later and there's just no resolution, like they just want to terminate and cancel, then you need to sign a cancellation contract. But that can be different. Like what you are doing with the fee section of that cancellation contract will be different per client. And that's why there's a confidentiality clause in these contracts. It's essentially like you're breaking up, the contract before you're terminating the contract, before your services can be performed and before people like fully pay, right? Like you're releasing them for their payment obligations a lot of times under these contracts as well. Now, you guys know we have this bundle in the Legal Paige shop. If you don't know, now you do. I don't like being salesy. This is not the time for me to like be salesy. I literally am only saying this because you need it. Like you need these 3 documents for every client that comes your way. And people that are asking, like, I want you to have these documents in your legal tool belt, in your, arsenal of legal documents, not just right now during this COVID-19 situation, but also for future, like, situations that could come up. Thus, we have discounted this heavily. It's like 75% off or something crazy like that. It's under $100. I think it's $97, and you can get all 3 of these contracts. It's in the bundle. You get all of them. And so you can use them whenever you need. That's on thelegalpage.com. We will also link to like that specific bundle in the show notes if you guys are like, I know it's also like if you're listening in, if you just go to the legal page on Instagram, I know we have it in our link in bio too. So I just want you guys to have easy access to this. I don't want it to be challenging. I don't want you to have to go pay an attorney $500, $1,000, $1,500 right now. And attorneys are also getting inundated with questions. I've been talking to tons of my colleagues in the industry, and no one, lots of attorneys can't answer phone calls. They can't return phone calls. Everybody's inundated because of what's happening. It implicates all kinds of different industries and all kinds of different lawyers. So, okay, enough about, what you need to do. Just work your hardest to try to reschedule, work with your clients, document everything, sign documents, okay? Execute that addendum, rescheduling contract or cancellation contract, and then move on to the next client as much as possible. I've been getting this question as well that I just wanted to answer here before we go, and also then just wrap it up with, how we can really move forward in this and how we can be better industry professionals and service providers. So if your client refuses to kind of move forward in a good way and doesn't want to honor the contract, what options does your business have to like collect outstanding payments? Like maybe I've heard this a lot right now too, is invoices are coming up like in the next week or 2 weeks and their clients aren't talking to them, and their clients are probably in a, financial yucky situation, and they probably are trying to avoid that payment is what I'm getting at here. So what do you do? Like, do you like still issue that invoice? Like, what is morally and ethically like the right thing to do? You need to make that decision. Like, are you willing to kind of go above and beyond? And if they're going to reschedule, I've seen things like if you really need the money right now, you can contract to anything. Like we have the freedom to contract in the United States. So if you want to say, my business depends on these invoices this month, and I would really appreciate if you can, if at all possible, pay your invoice this month, even though we're rescheduling to an event, say a new date in 8 months. If they pay now, maybe you can add on something, right? Like maybe you could do something really creative, like they get a second shooter. You can add on print credit. You can add on an album. Maybe you add on like an extra 30 minutes or hour of coverage if they pay their invoices this month. Like you can get creative if you really, really need all of those, all that income coming in towards your business. But you can also be, respectful of if they can't pay, then go above and beyond and serve your clients really well and reschedule the event date and push out invoices. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And you guys, if you're terminating a contract and they haven't paid and you've got all these things going on, like you always have the option to take your clients to collections. But again, you have to do a risk assessment on your business and determine if that's a good option for you. Like probably not right now because of potential client backlash, bad spreading through word of mouth about your business and what you're doing to clients, potential lawsuits. Your reputation and your business standard is important, but you really need to look at the full picture of every client situation and work with that client to the best of your ability. Now, as business owners, we are all facing like really tight finances right now. Everyone is in that position. And so I want you to be also very smart as a business owner. Start cutting finances now because we have no idea how long this new reality is going to be in play. For all you photographers listening, cut finances. I know you can put a hold on your Adobe account for 60 days. You can try to cancel. And then at the end of canceling your subscription, they'll say, well, we'll give you 60 days for free. And then you click yes. I know Showit, if any of you have Showit accounts, Todd Watson, the owner, I think came on today or yesterday and said that if you have a financial hardship, we don't want to continue that financial burden on you, and you can have your Show It account not invoiced for 60 days. So you get 60 days for free. Cut all other expenses if possible. What is not necessary right now? Probably Facebook ads. What is, is there some, do you have like education credit you can use somewhere? Be smart with your business expenses right now and really, really work as a business owner. Put your business owner like CEO hat on, as in, I'm going to make sure that my business stands strong at the end of this. And then you guys do what you can, like just as humans for others. Be kind, be better people than your neighbors next to you. Help elderly people, knock on their, maybe don't knock on their doors, call them and ask, what you can do to help. Can you deliver groceries to their front door? I have an 85-year-old grandpa, and it's a scary time right now. I'm glad he doesn't live in a nursing home and he's able to get by himself and he can quarantine in his own house. But I'm like, G-Pa, please don't go anywhere. Please, please, please don't go anywhere. Like, they're so susceptible. And he also has kind of a compromised health condition. But just be there for your fellow Americans. Be there for your friends and your family members. Stay home. Do your part in flattening the curve. Please do what you can right now. Obviously, be good business owners. Obviously, work with your clients. Obviously, have legal documents in place so that you're avoiding risks and liabilities in the future. And if you guys just need anything, please know I'm here. I've been obviously working nonstop. We're kind of at like 12 to 16 hour days, depending on the day. And we're trying to put out as many legal resources as we can that are free and complimentary. And then everything that you could need legal document wise is discounted right now in the Legal Paige shop. So go take a peek. It's just at the Legal Paige, PAIGE.com. And I'm on Instagram. You can follow me there. I've been trying to like be a little bit of a shining light and funny and entertaining, just because it's hard times and we don't all need to be like, we can be happy and fun still. The Legal Paige community on Facebook is also a great resource. It's been growing rapidly and people are asking legal questions in there. I also want you guys to know we aren't taking on one-on-one clients right now. My caseload is full. I am a solo practitioner. Like, there's just one of me. But I'm like, how can I help a mass amount of people versus like a one-on-one and utilize, take up all my time with one-on-one clients. So the Legal Paige community is where you should go. You can ask legal questions. You can help answer questions for people. We're all working together. We're all in this together as, especially event industry professionals. So please go to the Legal Paige community on Facebook. You just type that in. You answer a couple questions so you are a business owner to get into the group. And then we can chit chat there. I'm going live there. I'm going live in a lot of other groups. I'm here to help. I'm here to be, a shoulder to lean on, hopefully a voice of reason legally during all of these times. And I hope you all are doing well. I am sending a big, big, big virtual hug your way. And I want to continue this conversation with you moving forward. So we'll continue to offer new podcasts and blogs and resources for you throughout the Legal Paige platform. Take care, everyone, and be safe.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Legal Paige podcast. See, I told you being legally legit isn't so scary. Be sure to visit thelegalpaige.com for all show notes. And it would be super awesome if you could head over to iTunes and leave a review. Last but not least, don't forget to join my free Facebook group for unlimited legal and biz Q&A. Chat soon, Legal Pagers.